In the year 1579, something impossible walked through the gates of Kyoto. He was taller than any Japanese man most people had ever seen. His skin was black, not tanned, not burned by the sun, black. Crowds gathered. Some laughed, some stared. Some reached out to rub his skin, convinced the color must be ink or dirt. This man had crossed oceans, cultures, and belief systems to arrive in the most violent era of Japanese history. His name was Yasuke, and before this story ends, he will carry swords. He will stand beside Japan's most feared warlord, and then, just as suddenly, he will vanish from history. This is not a legend. This is not anime. This is the documented, uncomfortable story of how an African man became a samurai in feudal Japan.
We don't know where Yasuke was born. That uncertainty is not accidental. It is the first mark of enslavement. Most historians believe he came from somewhere in East Africa, possibly modern-day Mozambique, Ethiopia, or Sudan. The Portuguese records that survive tell us almost nothing. They describe him in 4 words: African, male, tall, strong, as if that's all he was. Wherever he came from, that place erased him the moment he was taken. By 1579, Yasuke arrives in Goa, India, a Portuguese colony where East met West in the ugliest ways possible. He was sold, then sold again, then again. Each transaction made him more fluent in Portuguese. Each master taught him survival in a new world where being valuable meant staying alive. He was over 6 feet tall, muscular, quick to learn. He didn't cause trouble. Eventually, he caught the attention of Alessandro Valignano, an Italian Jesuit priest with influence and ambition. Valignano made Yasuke his personal bodyguard, his attendant. The Portuguese called him the Cafre, their word for African. It wasn't kind, but it was a name. For 3 years, Yasuke traveled with Valignano, India, Macau, China. He saw the world as the priest's shadow. And then, in 1579, Valignano received orders from Rome. Take the gospel to Japan. March 27th, 1579, Nagasaki. The moment Yasuke stepped off that ship, everything stopped. In Japan, there were no Africans. None. He was the first most of these people had ever encountered. They stared, pointed, whispered. Some thought he was a demon. Others thought he was painted. One man approached and tried to rub his skin to see if the black would come off. Yasuke was a curiosity, a spectacle, an impossibility walking through their streets. Japan at this time is not unified. It is fractured, brutal, and soaked in blood. This period is called the Sengoku Jidai, the age of warring states. Samurai clans slaughter one another for land. Loyalty lasts only as long as advantage. Power belongs to those willing to seize it. And into this world walks a man who does not belong anywhere.
For 2 years, Yasuke traveled through Japan with Valignano. He learned Japanese, not perfectly, but enough. He learned customs, how to bow, when to speak, when to stay silent. He watched the samurai, the way they carried themselves, the way they treated their swords like sacred objects, the way they lived by Bushido, the code of honor. He was still property, still a servant, but he was learning. In 1581, Valignano received an invitation. Oda Nobunaga, the most powerful daimyo in Japan, the man unifying the country through blood and brilliance, wanted to meet them. Specifically, he wanted to meet Yasuke. Nobunaga is not just a warlord. He is a force of nature. He burns temples, he executes monks, he rejects tradition and replaces it with results. By 1582, he controls nearly half of Japan. The rest is within reach. He has destroyed the Takeda clan. He has broken Buddhist monasteries that opposed him. He answers to no one.
May 1581. Azuchi Castle. When Yasuke is brought before him, Nobunaga does not react with fear or disgust. He reacts with curiosity. Through an interpreter, he asks questions. Where are you from? How old are you? How strong are you? Then he does something no one expected. He orders his men to strip Yasuke to the waist and scrub his skin.
They scrub and scrub and scrub. The Japanese cannot believe his skin is naturally dark. They think he is painted, dyed, some kind of trick. Yasuke stands there, arms outstretched, while servants try to wash away his blackness like it was mud. It doesn't come off. Nobunaga watches this entire spectacle, and then he laughs. Not mockery, fascination. He approaches Yasuke, looks him directly in the eyes. Nobunaga sees something others do not. Through the interpreter, Nobunaga asks Valignano, "Will you give him to me?" Valignano is shocked. "My lord, he is my personal attendant. I'll pay whatever price you want," Nobunaga interrupts. "This man interests me." And just like that, Yasuke is sold again. But this time is different. Nobunaga does not want a slave. He wants a warrior. He looks at Yasuke and says, "You will be my retainer. You will carry my sword. You will fight beside me." "What is your name?" he asks. Through the interpreter, Yasuke explains the Portuguese called him many things, but he had no true name. Nobunaga thinks for a moment, then decides, "I will call you Yasuke. It means the one who assists. You will assist me in building a new Japan." Yasuke is given a stipend, a residence, servants, weapons. He is allowed to carry swords. In feudal Japan, this is not symbolic. Only samurai may do this. Nobunaga gives him training. Kenjutsu, the art of the sword. Kyudo, archery. How to wear armor. How to ride a horse in battle formation. The Japanese way of war is different, more disciplined, more focused. It is not about rage or strength alone. It is about precision, control, making death an art form. Yasuke is older than most samurai in training, in his mid-20s, but he is tall, strong, and learns quickly. Records describe him as exceptionally capable, able to lift men with ease. He trains like his life depends on it, because it does. 6 months after entering Nobunaga's service, Yasuke is called to a formal ceremony. Nobunaga presents him with a katana, not a practice sword, a true katana, forged by a master swordsmith. Yasuke's name is engraved on the tang. In Japanese culture, the sword is the soul of the samurai. To give a man a katana is to recognize him as worthy, as equal. Japanese samurai in that room, men whose families had been warriors for generations, watch as an African man receives the same honor they were born into. Some are furious,
Some are confused. Nobunaga doesn't care. You are samurai now, he tells Yasuke. Act accordingly.
Spring, 1582. The Takeda clan's remnants make a final stand. Nobunaga leads his forces to crush them. Yasuke rides beside him. This is his first true battle as samurai, not as a captive, not as a servant, as a warrior. He fights with the katana Nobunaga gave him. He protects his lord's flank. When the battle ends, Yasuke stands covered in blood and dust, alive. Nobunaga looks at him across the battlefield and nods, just once. That nod means everything. Yasuke has proven himself, not as an African, not as a curiosity, as a warrior.
June 21st, 1582. Honnoji Temple, Kyoto. Nobunaga is staying at the temple with only a small guard, there between campaigns, resting. He believes he is safe. He is surrounded by allies. He is wrong. His general, Akechi Mitsuhide, betrays him. 13,000 troops surround the temple. Nobunaga has perhaps 200 men inside. The temple is attacked.
Flames rise. Arrows fall. The warlord who reshaped Japan is trapped. Nobunaga knows immediately this is the end. He will commit seppuku, ritual suicide. He will not be captured. He will not give them the satisfaction. Yasuke fights. He defends the inner chamber where Nobunaga retreats to die with honor. Records say he killed 6 men that night, maybe more. But there are too many. They are being overwhelmed. Nobunaga calls Yasuke to him one final time. He hands him his personal sword. "Get this to my son," he says. "Tell him I died a warrior." Then he orders Yasuke to leave, to survive. Yasuke refuses. A samurai doesn't abandon his lord. Nobunaga smiles. A samurai follows his lord's orders. "I order you, live, carry my memory." Those are the last words Nobunaga speaks to him.
Yasuke is captured at dawn, wounded, exhausted. Akechi's men bring him before their lord. Akechi looks at him with disgust and confusion. "What do I do with this?" he asks his advisors. "It's not Japanese. It's not even human in our understanding." One advisor says, "Kill him." Another says, "He's just an animal, a beast. He doesn't understand Bushido or honor. Send him back to the foreigners." Akechi decides Yasuke is not worth killing. To him, Yasuke is not even worthy of the honor of execution. "Give him to the Jesuits," Akechi says. "Let them deal with their pet."
Yasuke is returned to the Jesuits. He is no longer a slave, technically, but he is not free. No lord, no purpose, no place. He had been samurai. He had fought beside the greatest warlord in Japan. Now he is just the African again. The curiosity. What happened to Yasuke after that? No one knows for certain. The Portuguese records mention him once more, then silence. Some say he returned to India with the Jesuits. Some say he stayed in Japan, living quietly. Some say he died in obscurity. The truth is lost to history. What we know comes from fragments, Jesuit missionary letters, Japanese historical texts like the Shinchoko-ki, Portuguese colonial records. They confirm his existence, his service to Nobunaga, his presence at Honnoji, his capture and release, but they do not tell us how his story ends. But fragments remain. Enough to know this. An African man once walked into feudal Japan and stood among samurai. That is not myth. That is history, uneasy, incomplete, and real. If you want more stories like this, warriors and leaders history tried to forget, subscribe now. Next video, a disabled prince who couldn't walk became the founder of the Mali Empire. Drop a comment. What other historical figure should I cover?